anything else you've noticed from writing this book that was helpful?
One thing is that it created more content that I can use everywhere. So I now have a huge bench of content to pull newsletters from, to pull social posts out of, and building a course on top of the book. So I'm going to use that book. It's kind of like the way the Indians use a buffalo. I've got the buffalo and I'm going to use every single piece of it now.
Hey, Lee, welcome to the show again.
Thank you.
You're my first official second-time guest, and for good reason. We're going to be talking about your book, specifically the book Content Simplified. So normally, my listeners know, if you've been listening for a while, this is the book right here. For those listening and not watching, I'm holding up Content Simplified. Normally, I would say, what's your claim to fame? And you would explain, but you need no further introduction. You've written the book on it. That's how when I give introductions to people in network about Lee, you should follow Lee Densmer. She's written the book on content. You've done exactly that. And so we're going to talk about a little bit of your journey writing this book, but also what's inside it and the problems it solves for teams. So can you give me the story why you decided to write a book? Because that is a pretty big undertaking.
Yeah, and I never ever thought I was going to write one. Even though I've been a writer all my life, people would, be like, "Why didn't you write a book?" I'm like, "No, not for me. I'm not running a marathon. I'm not writing a book, full stop." But I was at a retreat a year ago with some women entrepreneurs, Renee Lynn Froho's retreat. We were talking about what's next for our businesses. And they all said, "Lee, you're a prolific writer. Why didn't you write a book?" And again, immediately was the no, like the knee-jerk no. And they said, "Just put all of your content together in a Word doc, all your newsletters, all your blogs, and see what you've got." And I did it, and I had 35,000 words, which is half a book. So then the process of like literally finishing a draft was a sprint where I filled in the gaps, wrote an intro, wrote a conclusion, moved things around, and it wasn't hard. And maybe that's I'd like to talk about the things that surprised me most about writing a book, but that was probably the first surprise is I'm a writer. I've written a lot of content. This isn't hard. This is just the final sprint.
So if you've got the content, writing the book is just the natural next step, it sounds like.
Yeah, but I was resisting it.
You were resisting. Why do you think? You maybe just you thought it would be a bigger deal than it was.
I did. And yeah, I guess I just thought it would be a bigger deal and I didn't know how to do it. And I'll tell you what help I got because I got extensive help.
Okay. So yeah, let's go ahead. What was missing that you needed help with to write a book?
I ended up hiring a coach. So a coach is not a publisher because I self-published, but I hired a coach to help me with all the business aspects of writing a book. If you're a writer, why would you know that? It's overwhelming. And those things are like how to set up a web page to sell the book, how to get it designed and laid out, how to get the cover designed. So there were a number of things, how to get it listed on Amazon, how to get the ISBN. There's a number of things that when you're writing a book, it's overwhelming to think about. So I paid a guy named Mark Maxheimer to help me with all of that. And he kind of was like the project manager. You need to do this. You need to do this, from big picture things to little picture things, like you need to pick the categories that we're going to list your book under, and on and on. Lots of advice along the way.
Lots of things you don't realize, right? When you start this kind of project, it reminds me, I used to be a graphic designer or a website designer, also a graphic designer. A lot of us think, I'll build a website. And you as a content marketer, oh wait, I need images. Oh wait, do we get stock? Do we use info? If that means we need to do a photo shoot, oh wait, who's going to write the copy in the days before AI, right? Do we hire a writer, write it ourselves? And all these details start emerging. Sounds like it's very much the same thing with the book. You found the right person for that.
It's why just a lot of people write a book and then never publish it, or they just don't get started, because you got to think about why you're writing a book. And I wrote it to publish it, right? But I didn't know how.
I have a mentor, really smart guy, high EQ. He wrote a book years ago, and then when he had finished, he self-published it. And I have a copy on my shelf in my basement. He got it published, and then he realized, nobody told me I have to market this to sell it. And so nobody knows he wrote a book. And that's the part, it sounds like you got that advice right off the front end. And I saw it. I was reading through the book and I saw the end, the last page, and you have some calls to action there. Can you speak to that a little bit?
The calls to action at the end of the book, as far as that's connection to marketing?
Yeah, how you connected it to your marketing ecosystem, whatever you want to call it.
So we are talking about a business book. So I had to connect it to my business, which is, I'm not making any money on this book. This book is basically a lead magnet, right? So through the book, I had to find ways to invite readers into my ecosystem. So, like by offering them a lead magnet that they can download and then they get on my newsletter list. I put in a couple QR codes that they could scan to get on my newsletter list. So that's the main thing. How do I get you from buying my book in Amazon to getting into my ecosystem? A lot of writers, a lot of publishers take their foot off the gas with marketing after 2 or 3 months. And then, of course, their sales just decline. But a good book can sell steadily for a year. And I sell about 2 copies a day. But I marketed ahead of the publication date on LinkedIn and in my newsletter. I built a wait list of people who would buy my book and wanted to hear about the writing process. And that was really fun. They got engaged there. And I would tell them, like, this sucked. This was really hard. This was a victory. And then half of them bought my book. And I did a lot of promotion on LinkedIn. So I really kept my foot on the gas for as far as promotion.
You just did a training. I know we're in the same similar group, communities, and you just did a training about, what you've learned from writing a book. I imagine a lot of these are coming out of that thinking back and what you did. I like that you thought about it ahead of time. You didn't learn the hard way. Oh, I should have done that. I mean, I'm sure the coach helped you think about some of these things ahead of time. But a few things like that wait list is you do that not just for writing books. I think smart startups also, right, before you create an offer, go see if there's demand for the offer by creating a wait list, right, and then run ads to it. You did something similar with your community. I remember being part of that wait list. I remember it was like, "Oh, I'm gonna look at your book," and then, we just had a baby and I had no capacity to look at your book, but I remember being involved in those emails and seeing that and seeing the excitement of that building, for your community and people asking, "When's it coming out?" And you the key thing I remember was having control over the selling process as well. Can you tell us about why that was important?
Yeah, so it is a pain to set up a process to sell a book on your website. It's a pain. You have to build a page, you have to set up a payment mechanism. The taxes. Oh my God, the taxes you sell it in each state. It's hard to understand. There's different levels in each state. You have to register with the anyway, it's deep. So it's a pain to set it up to sell on your book on your own webpage, but it's the only way you get access to the people who buy that book. Only way. So when somebody buys your book online on Amazon, they're anonymous. You have no idea who they are. But I wanted a way to make sure that people who bought my initial book, and I did not list it on Amazon intentionally for 3 months. So the first 3 months push of my book was to my website, which allowed me to get an email list of 300 people who bought my book, who I could then market to. And again, I didn't write the book for the, for the love of, knowledge. I wrote it to grow my business. It was very intentional. So
I love that. Yeah, you built it with an end in mind, which wasn't sales of the book.
no, I'm never going to make my money back on sales of the book. I'm literally, it was expensive to write the book, and I am not seeing that again.
It was a massive amount of your time, and of course, the money of hiring a coach and getting the printing and all those things done. But, what are some things you've learned from the process of writing a book?
This is where the surprises were, and the joy, frankly, was. The first thing was that I got way better at my craft. When you're writing a book, you have to go fill in the gaps of your knowledge to write a good chapter. You have to understand it at such a deep level that you can write about it credibly. So the process was a lot of writing, yes, but also researching, studying other content marketers. I got better at what I do, hands down. I also built a little bit of a community of supporters around it, and I grew my network in a very lovely way. So people who were supporting me, initial people who read the book and wrote me back, I just was able to build some lovely relationships around it. And I had people like you contributing sections or quotes to my book. And it just built this kind of like ecosystem of friendlies, which was fun.
I love that process, by the way. It reminds me a lot of my process, but in completely different context. Like my process is right with video agency. I do networking, do a free video, right? That's the goodwill I deposit, and people are like, "Wow!" So these are referral partners, and then 2 months, 2 years down the road, I get a referral partners, and that's how I've done it. Bill, I like the way you said that. You have friendlies, but I love the way you did that because I was reading the book again yesterday, refreshing my mind. I was looking at all these, and I recognized all these names. We have very similar circles. I was like, "Oh, I know this person. I know that," and I could really see where that builds a lot of goodwill and it really strengthens those relationships in business. It's such a cool tactic. Yeah.
It cost me nothing to have my friend Rosanna Campbell, who's a premier content marketer, put a quote in my book, and I hope she felt great about it. But it was super fun getting quotes and contributions from my peers.
That makes sense. What are some, so you became you said better writer from
Better content marketer.
better content marketer. Yeah, because 'cause you're filling in the gaps of your thinking is what I'm hearing you say.
So I will share that it was really difficult for me to hand over a draft, both to my editor, who's a friend, my developmental editor, and to my advanced review team. It was a very vulnerable thing because I've spent all this time crafting a book, putting my thoughts down, and think, what if nobody cares, right? Or what if I'm wrong? What if I'm off base? Because so far it's been in my head. I'm a little echo chamber there. And that was very vulnerable. But my group of friendlies wrote back, and many of them said difficult things that I needed to hear, that after I could digest it, it made my book better. And then the learning, kind of a second tier of learning took place. It was like, oh my God, I really don't know enough about this. So I need to go learn. And then I come back and write about it.
Yeah, it's not like you knew everything about content just because 'cause you've been in content marketing. Who does, right?
No, I don't. Joe Polizzi doesn't, right? I mean, maybe probably he does. So again, the group of friendlies challenged me to do some deeper thinking, which made my book better.
It opened you up to be vulnerable, even though it's a business book. Think about that, right?
It was crazy. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm sending this to competent people. It was like opening up your junk drawer or something. Crap you don't want people to see.
Yeah, yeah, letting people into your home after you haven't cleaned in a month, yeah, that kind Yeah, it made it a better experience, in the end. Um, I'm curious, have you seen anything happen as a result of I mean, you've already the process of writing the book made things happen. You gave an example, strengthened your partnerships, your referral partnerships, and these are relationships not just for, referrals, but just helpful for business, which is the underrated part of doing business. I think a lot of people are like, "What's the ROI? Where's the line item on the P&L?" But these are helpful business relationships. Anything else you've noticed from writing this book that was helpful?
One thing is that it created more content that I can use everywhere. So I now have a huge bench of content to pull newsletters from, to pull social posts out of. I'm building a course on top of the book, and I'll be pulling lessons and curriculum from the book and expanding it. I mean, my thinking has changed since I wrote the book. So I'm going to use that book. It's kind of like the way the Indians use a buffalo. I've got the buffalo, and I'm going to use every single piece of it now. That is cool. It's like I've now got the corpus of work, right? It is letting me build a course off of the book, which is going to be super fun for me. And it has brought me some consulting opportunities, which was kind of it was the original point.
Yeah, increase some business. I mean, you talk about it's the ultimate. It's always been said, and it's still true. Even with AI crap books being written out there, book is still the ultimate sign of authority to get you in the door to speaking or into boardrooms, making a presentation. Have you been able to find a way to leverage it for anything like that yet? I know it's kind of early still in your process.
It is early still, and I actually need to remember that. So publishing a book and kind of leveraging it for your business is the long game. Podcast opportunities for sure.
Well, I mean, this is an example of that, right? You're my first repeat guest because you have a book.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, exactly. A couple guest blogging invitations, a couple invitations to co-present on lives or workshops. Like I'm doing one next week with Molly Godfrey on Maven. It's just allowing me to do some different things because I'm getting attention from the book, some things I haven't really maybe thought of doing.
Well, I love the course idea, by the way. I know I heard just a little bit about that. So you're not necessarily reinventing anything. You're just repurposing the book into a format that is hands-on for the people who want to actually, you know, maybe they could read the book and get the same information, but they need to be spoon-fed the information. I know I benefit from being spoon-fed information. All right, do this one thing. Okay, great. I've done the thing. What's the next thing, right?
It's a 6-week class, and I'll give them the book. When you buy the class, you'll get the book. It's not homework, but what it does is gives students the chance to hear from me, ask questions of me, get feedback, and engage in the concepts in the book in a way that's more robust, interactive. And I stood up a wait list for that book, and I have for that class, and I have 135 interested people.
I love that. And I want to make a point here for our listeners if you haven't noticed. Lee, your success with this book It wasn't the book on its own. So it was in a relational context with other people, building that wait list, going to your network, strengthening relationships. I mean, it's like the book exists, but then it's your network. It always comes back to your network, right? And then you're building your network with the book as a tool. That's what I'm seeing is that back and forth and that relationship. It doesn't exist in a vacuum, right?
No, and that's what's been so surprising. And my choice of a book was the logical choice for me. Other people are going to choose to do that around a podcast or around a video series, like how you help people. But that is so interesting. Absolutely. It's not the book. I have a book on my shelf. I'm proud of it, but this has not been about the hard copy, right? This has been about the network and the opportunities and the learning that I've gotten out of it, which is why I loved it. So when people say, should I write a book? I'm like, absolutely. Start the process, see where it takes you, and then follow the energy.
Do you have any other tips for us? Those of us maybe who are thinking about writing a books, leaders, consultants, but also, leadership. There's a lot of leaders who have learned a thing or two about business, and they maybe are thinking about writing a book. Maybe not a pure business book, but it's all connected: leadership, business, relationships. Any other tips you can share with us?
I would say start flexing your writing muscle by writing on LinkedIn and writing newsletters, depending on your audience and your purpose. So start flexing the muscle because you don't just write a book off the rip, right? You have some sort of body of content, right? Some newsletters you've written, some blogs you've written. So I would start by flexing the writing muscle. Um, Start by reading other business books in the discipline. Before I got started, I read Ashley Faust's book. I read Devin Bramhall's book. I read a bunch of content marketing books. And honestly, I thought I can do something different that doesn't compete with these. Yeah, so I would do those two things. Just start reading broadly. And then there's a podcast, a really cool podcast about becoming an author, and it's called Publish and Prosper. Happens to be done by the print on demand company that I use that's called Lulu, but it's a really great podcast on the process of this, the why, the what. Yeah, it's a really cool one. So I would say dabble before you actually dive into writing a book to see if it is going to be a good vehicle for you for this kind of network. And
I really like that first tip. I was just talking to somebody recently about, how I wanted to improve my writing, and they said, "Well, what are you reading to improve your writing? Because you only output is what you input, right? You can't output something if you don't have good input." And I thought, "Well, that's really good." He recommended some creative novel type stuff, his short stories from this author from the '60s, just to get my brain going, and I really like the way you put that, though, because you will dabble before you dive in. You don't learn to swim by hopefully just diving in the deep. You don't become an Olympic swimmer, there we go. Just by jumping in the pool for the first time, you gotta actually swim around a bit to see, how you feel about it. Because writing may not be your thing, right? Some people have said, "When are you gonna write the book?" And maybe I will someday. I probably won't write it for myself, probably have a ghostwriter help me. But I do know that you know, if we come back to what's the point of a business book, it's to build stronger relationships and get your foot in the door in rooms you wouldn't otherwise, and all these wonderful relationship-based benefits. I mean, for me, you're right. Podcasting, video content is how I do that. So
well, Justin, your book might be a video series.
you're right. Yeah, it might be a video series. We're actually diving into long form video content now. We're testing things, right? It may be. I keep coming back to I do the best work when it's with other people. Like you've been on a LinkedIn Live with me last fall. This is recording 2026. That was 2025, and I do that now once a month with different people. Like that's how I build relationships and get the content out there at the same time. So I really like this idea that you've put forward. I never thought about it this way of writing a book as an extension of your building your network, basically.
You're building your brain, you're building your craft, you're building your network. It's in part about putting your legacy on paper. Like this is what I did in my career and I wrote it down and I want it to be in the world. It's part about that. But it's also about just getting better.
Getting better. And yeah, it's great skill for improving as a human. I mean, and let's not discount that as well, right? If your business isn't improving you as a human, what are you doing?
What are you doing? I agree. And if there's no joy in it, what are you doing? So
Let's can you give us a quick I don't know if we talked too much about what's in the book. It's Content Simplified, the biggest B2B content marketing mistakes and how to fix them. Can you tell us just a little bit more about what's in it? What can someone expect? Who it's for maybe? And then we'll wrap up.
yes. Okay. So I have worked for as a consultant 19 different enterprises over 3 years. So they're small, mid-sized, and large B2Bs. There have been 40 mistakes I've seen over and over again across these 19 customers, and that's what I wrote about. So there's 40 chapters with each of the kind of problem, and then the reason it's bad, and then how to fix it, and then how to know you fixed it. So it's super tactical. It's not a theory book at all.
And I can attest to that. I've read it. I love it. Each chapter is what to do with this and examples and stories. It's a good read, folks. And it's not designed to be read cover to cover. It's designed to be dip in and out as you have this problem, find the solution here. I like that format as well.
Right. So it's for content marketers who either need to level up, who are responsible for ROI, but they're not really getting it. It's for anybody who's stuck. It's for CMOs who want a big picture of why their content program isn't working. And you can get it at leedensmer.com/book or on Amazon.
All right. And we'll put the links as well in the descriptions. Well, Lee, thank you again for being here. And I would ask, where can we learn about you? But you gave us a couple great examples. But if we can find you on LinkedIn as well, if someone's not ready to buy the book, but they want to find you there, that's your main platform. Is that right?
Yeah, go there. Go to LinkedIn.
All right. Well, thank you again for being here, Lee.
Thanks. Fun conversation. Take care.